Remember the sound a classroom makes when class gets canceled? That roar. Now notice what you were cheering for. Someone paid real money for that lesson, and you celebrated because it didn't happen. Nobody cheers when a restaurant cancels a meal they already paid for. In The Elephant in the Brain, Kevin Simler and Robin Hanson take that little moment seriously and land on an idea that stings. You didn't go to school to learn. So what were you there to buy? Hold that question. Because your own memory has been telling you the answer for years. Think of the last exam you crammed for. You held the material for one night, poured it onto the page, and by the weekend, it was gone. You didn't fail at learning. You succeeded at something else. Psychologists have measured the leak. In 1996, Harris Cooper and his colleagues pulled together 39 studies on what summer vacation does to students. On average, kids came back in fall at least 1 month behind where they left in spring, knowledge draining out like water from a cracked bucket. And that's just 3 months. Give it a decade and the numbers get almost funny. The economist Brian Kaplan dug through American survey data and found that of all the adults who speak a second language well, only 7% learned it in school. Spread across the whole population, that rounds to under 1% after years of mandatory classes. Picture a classroom of 30 kids conjugating French verbs. Statistically, school will produce 0 fluent speakers. Here's what should bother you. The knowledge evaporates. The paycheck doesn't. A degree keeps paying, decade after decade, long after you've forgotten everything it supposedly stands for. And inside that paradox sits the strangest number in the economics of education. The final year of college pays more than the first 3 combined. Economists call it the sheepskin effect because diplomas used to be printed on sheepskin. In 1996, David Jaeger and Marianne compared Americans year by year of education using census surveys that for the first time recorded not just how long people had studied, but which diplomas they actually held. The pattern was blunt. A high school diploma added around 13% to wages. A bachelor's degree, up to 28 years of school without a certificate at the end were worth a fraction of that. Kaplan puts it more brutally still. 12th grade raises your earnings more than grades 9, 10, and 11 combined. Sit with that. If school worked the way we say it works, skills stacking up brick by brick every year should pay about the same. Year 4 of college cannot teach you triple what year 3 did. The magic isn't in the years, it's in the paper waiting at the end of them, which raises an uncomfortable test. What happens to someone who has the knowledge, but not the paper? America ran that experiment by accident. It's called the GED, a test that certifies high school level knowledge for people who dropped out. Pass it and you have officially proven you know what a graduate knows. In 2001, the Nobel-winning economist James Heckman and Yona Rubinstein checked how GED holders were actually doing. On cognitive tests, they scored the same as ordinary high school graduates, same knowledge, certified in ink. Their wages, the same as dropouts, sometimes lower. Listen to that again. The market looked at 2 people with identical knowledge and paid them completely differently. Whatever employers are buying, it is not the contents of your head. The diploma is saying something else about you, something a test score can't fake. So what exactly is it saying? In 1973, a young economist named Michael Spence published a paper called Job Market Signaling. It later won him a Nobel Prize. His idea: when employers can't directly see how good you are, they look for signals, traits that are easy to display and expensive to fake. A peacock can't fake the tail. A weak student can't fake 16 years of showing up on time, sitting still and clearing every arbitrary hoop on command. And that, Simler and Hanson argue, is the real product. A diploma certifies 3 things at once: that you're reasonably smart, that you can grind through work you don't enjoy, and that you'll follow the rules of whatever institution you're dropped into. Smart, diligent, obedient. Every employer on earth wants that bundle, and no interview can verify it in an afternoon. School can because you spent your entire childhood proving it. Think about what a hiring manager actually does with your resume. She has 30 seconds and 200 applicants. She cannot sit you down and measure your intelligence, your work ethic, your tolerance for boring instructions. But she can see one line, the degree, and that one line quietly answers all 3 questions at once. 16 years of tests, deadlines, and early alarms compressed into a single word she can trust more than anything you could say about yourself. That's why employers keep demanding degrees for jobs that use none of the coursework. They aren't paying for what you know. They're paying for what the paper proves you'll put up with. Notice what this means. School works. It just isn't the machine we describe. We describe improvement. Take in raw students, polish them, send them out better. What it mostly does is certification. Take in unknown students, test them for 16 years, and stamp a grade on the outside so buyers know what they're getting. The gem isn't polished, it's graded. And if this sounds like some new cynical theory, it's older than your grandparents. In 1901, psychologists Edward Thorndike and Robert Woodworth tested the claim that school subjects train the mind in general. that Latin or geometry strengthened thinking the way a gym strengthens muscles. They found almost no transfer. Practicing one skill barely improved even closely related skills. The school as mental gym story died in a laboratory more than a century ago. The tuition bills never noticed. Now, the objection you're already forming, but I did learn things. You're understanding every word of this video right now. True, and it matters. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That's real human capital, and nobody serious disputes it. The signaling story is about the premium, the extra pay that attaches to the certificate rather than the skill. The reason the diploma year is magic, and the GED isn't even. Kaplan, the theory's loudest champion, estimate signaling explains most of a degree's value, not all of it. So why does nobody say this out loud? Because everyone at the table needs the polite version. Employers need a cheap filter, students need the badge, parents need to believe the tuition bought growth. So we all say education and keep a straight face. And the person we fool most thoroughly, Simler and Hanson argue, is ourselves. It is simply a nicer story to tell about our own ambition. Here's the tell, and you can check it tonight. MIT put its courses online. Free more than 20 years ago, the knowledge of one of the world's great universities open to anyone with an internet connection. Nobody roared like a classroom hearing class is canceled, and nobody gets hired for having watched because knowledge was never the scarce thing being sold. None of this means you should tear up your diploma or pull your kids out of school. The badge is real currency in a real market, and pretending otherwise gets expensive fast. Buy it, but buy it with your eyes open. Because school sells two different products, and only one comes with a certificate. The certificate belongs to the audience, employers, relatives, a world that needs a fast way to read you. The learning has no audience at all. Nobody will ever test it, stamp it, or frame it, which is exactly how you know which one you wanted for itself. Watch any graduation photo. The cap goes up, and everyone cheers the paper. The paper was for them. Whatever you actually learned, the part you'd study again tomorrow, exam or no exam, that part was always for you.